Strange Adventures, issue 9, Tom King, writing with Mitch Gerads and Doc Shaner on the art. And
Usual.
we have the fallout of this report that's leaked about Adam Strange and whatever he did in the war on Ran, and the reaction to this, and kind of how Alana is very capably able to spin it into a very positive thing for the public.
Yeah, especially as we see some of what actually happened, or at least the story of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there was some chemical warfare going on.
It seemed like chemical warfare combined with like luring people, because the chemical warfare is essentially designed to lead them to a giant pit, which then buries them all alive. It's very sinister.
Yeah, and it was like, there was no like specific targeting the soldiers. It was just whoever's there.
Yeah, and Adam Strange, notably in that section, is wearing like it's a black version of his suit. It's like a stealth version.
It is very much the stealth suit.
Yeah. Notably though, we start with the stuff on the planet. We start with the grave, like they're at the tombstone with the little hologram of their daughter. And I actually went back and because obviously we have like a month or so between these issues. Sometimes it's a little bit longer, and I remember always the gist of what the book's been about. But I'm like, okay, I always want to go back and just sort of skim the previous issue to remember, okay, where did we leave it off? What was the ending of the last issue? And I was glad I did in this case because I was like, wait, did we have the death and I've forgotten it? Because I don't remember what and we didn't. This is important. I went back and checked. The last issue ended with like him and his daughter going out together to spend some time together. And it was very kind of somber, and we all had the feeling, I remember talking about it, we all had the feeling that this is the trip that's going to be the tragedy.
Yeah.
But we don't see it yet, so they're saving that still, because we start this and she's already dead. There's a tombstone.
Allegedly dead.
Allegedly dead, yes. That's important, I suppose. But but it made me go, I made a point to go back and check. And also, in the present day stuff, Adam's flying around, fighting Pict, and Alana's basically saying what this report is, what's in it. It's kind of damning, but other than the fact that the Justice League are basically banning you from being a Justice League member, it's not actually that big a deal.
No big deal.
Yeah. Unless you care about hanging out with,
Red Tornado.
Well, it was Red Tornado. I was trying to remember which one it was. Tornado. Yeah. Unless you miss hanging about with Red Tornado over a cup of coffee, I think you're going to survive. So obviously it's all very pretty. As we see the stealth version of these because he infiltrates this little town, the Pict have got, and he leaves this canister that starts oozing the green gas, which is notably a lot more vivid than any of the other colors in this, because it's all nighttime, so it's all these muted, I mean it is greens and blues, but it's very muted greens and blues, and when that green gas starts coming out, it's this vivid, almost Joker-esque green. It's
fluorescent.
Yeah. So it really, really sticks out. And he runs away, and we actually see like a couple of Pict run after him, but like he basically fires one shot, and then the Pict just starts to cough, and then sort of collapses in the green smoke. So it's very clear what this is. Yeah. And I think this is a really smart transition, I think, because it goes from him running. Obviously, he's got like a mask on, so he's not going to breathe it in. But it goes from him running from the green smoke as he's just killed someone, and obviously we suspect it's going to cause a lot more casualties by the time it's done. It cuts to Batman, and Adam going to Batman to talk about what's going on. And I think this is a really smart choice. I think this is very intentional. That after he's committed this heinous act, which is not just killing someone, this awful chemical warfare of some of the worst tactics you can possibly use. I think cutting straight to the strongest moral we do not kill compass in the Justice League that is Batman is a very intentional choice to make you kind of just like almost get whiplash from that to like Batman's attitude, and
then to spend that scene where it's Adam saving Batman's life.
Yeah, but then like, I mean, even before that, I don't want to mention out Adam yelling, "I didn't do anything." That stung a little bit, hearing him yell that out, given what we just saw.
We've just seen, and especially as we've been working under the assumption that the story we've been seeing is the sanitized version. Yeah. If that is the acceptable version of the story, how bad was it really?
Well, to be fair, I don't think it is the sanitized version in this case. It may still be. Maybe I'm wrong here. But I think that because this report's come out, I think what we see now from the flashback stuff in this issue is becoming less,
it's adapting to the public perception because that's out in the public domain now. Okay, yeah, no, that's possible.
Yeah, it's adapting to what the public are actually getting now. So
especially as to jump a little bit ahead in the issue, Alana kind of owns up to it a little bit later.
Yeah,
it's like it's true, but this is what you need. And again, still playing into the story angle of it.
Because I think the idea at the start of the book is we were very like stuck on the idea that this is the version of events that are in his book. But I think as we're going on and more stuff is coming out, I think those changes are reflecting into what we're seeing in the flashback, especially because it's still Doc Shaner obviously, but it's not as bright and poppy as it once was. It's starting to get darker. It's starting to get.
It's true. I do wonder if it's like like I said, it's still the story, but it's the story that's in the public domain, whatever that is at the time. So now that's whatever they've said in the report is the story.
Well, like you say, Batman gets hit with a beam, and Adam has to like grab him and fly him out of there. And notably, Adam turns back and like shoots one of the Picts and kills them as he's flying off with Batman. But then we cut back to the scene where they're basically watching the town as this gas infects the whole thing, and we see just like all these Picts running out, and we can't read what they're saying. It's all in this alien language, but they're all running and like gasping, and there's a full page spread to really get across the idea that this is thousands of people.
Yeah, they say at least 25,000.
Yeah. And they acknowledge that some people maybe survived a little bit on the inside just because of where they are, because maybe they had the right kind of mask that would have protected them or whatever. But we're seeing this play out as Alana's on a news program, which then sort of starts to intersect with Mr. Terrific in a bar, who's also watching this news, and hearing her spin this into, no, this is a time of war. We have to do whatever it takes to win. Adam did the right thing. And trust me, as this war goes on, you're going to be thankful that someone like Adam is on your side. And this comes back to like an age-old story of like, giving up who we are to win the fight. Is it worth it if we lose everything?
It's hard not to think of, I don't know, Bush going, well, they got weapons of mass destruction. Got to do it. It definitely feels like some strong parallels, and especially given when King was in the CIA, that wouldn't be surprising at all if that's very exactly what he's referencing here.
It was when the newscasters started talking, after the interview was done, and they started talking about how they kind of agree, like, yeah, I want someone like Adam Strange on our side. Like, yeah, we need people like Adam Strange to win this, because our country comes first, or, our planet comes first, more specifically.
Justice is all well and good, but we've got to be safe first.
And obviously, as this goes on, it's getting closer and closer on Mr. Terrific, and then eventually, the bottle of beer that he's holding, he just crushes it in his hand out of anger. But notably, then it intersects back to all these people running, all these Picts running, and then falling down this crevice, this pit that they have engineered. And there's that great panel at the top of the page. It's like, I think we don't even see Adam flying away. We just see the beam of his jetpack in the middle panel.
The middle one, yeah.
But the panel above that is like a Pict with his hand out, and I'm like, they're making me sympathize with the Pict here. They've went far enough now where I'm starting to feel like, no, this is what Adam's doing was wrong, and it's going to be hard to come back from that. And when you look back, because there was a panel when I was skimming through the last issue, there's that panel from last issue, which you'll remember when I remind you of him sitting in like a morgue of all the dead bodies, and he's just like, he's just got his head down and he's like struggling with the memories,
the horror of it all. Yeah.
So I think deep down, all this does get to him, of course, and I think a lot of this issue is him dealing with that guilt.
I suspect the denial of it being so strong is part of how he copes with it. It's like, it's the only way he can function is, no, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. So really good stuff. And Terrific actually starts writing a letter. He tapes up his fist. He's about to like do some boxing or something, but he goes to write down a letter, and we really get the start of it. We get, "Dear Alana."
Is it not a bandage from where he's just cut his hand on the glass?
Oh, you're probably right. For some reason, I took this as he was taping up his hand to punch a glove or punch a bag.
Yeah.
But whatever. Dear Alana, I think there are a lot of lies going around. I think you're ready for some truth. And we've been speculating that there's some more to the daughter's death, to Aaliyah's death, than that she knew even, right?
For a long time now.
So this seems like him hearing this, like her like rally this hard for him on the news, and the atmosphere that is being engineered through these turn of events, and how the public are starting to sway to this attitude, has convinced him that she needs to be aware of what's going on, maybe in the hopes that this will spur change between the two of them as a couple, and lead to something. But this definitely motivates him to like reveal whatever this truth is that he has uncovered, or speculates at the very least based on whatever he found. So
yeah, it's getting towards the climax now for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is issue 9 out of 12, so
it is. So yeah, it makes sense just by the numbers, but you feel it in the story. It is my point here.
Because there's a scene where Adam and his stealth gear, the allies they've got, was it the Helitat? They're just they're killing Pict left and right, and Adam looks up in the middle of all this carnage, and he sees like a billboard. It's like a family photo of him, and he's red with his wife and his daughter, looking all happy. And he's very angry, looking up at this propaganda essentially, in the midst of everything he's doing. And I actually thought that was the last page of this issue. I was expecting to turn the page because I'm reading digitally, so I don't know exactly where I am in the book, and I was expecting that to be the last page. And then there's a whole scene with Superman, which was fantastic.
Oh,
where
God, yeah.
They're up in the sky. It's got that sort of blue glow to the sky that all the Gerard sky stuff has.
All the lasers going on behind them.
And they're fighting this giant Pict robot that they've got, this big mech. And essentially this scene boils down to, and we saw this, we remembered this, which is Adam asked the Justice League to help with the Pict War back early. It was one of the flashbacks. We saw that he asked Superman and the League to intervene, and they didn't. And the final part of this scene where he just yells out, "I begged you to help. You're judging me for what I had to do to win that war. But before I did that, I asked you to come and help. I asked the Justice League to come and help do it properly and do it without any extreme measures." He was driven to that after he was refused help. So it's one of those things where you get to, even though I've been very much like against Adam's side for a lot of this issue, I get to that last bit and I'm like, he does kind of have at least one point here where he asks for the not the firepower, but for the the backing to make it go smoother, to make it something a bit more humane, if you will, and he was denied it.
He did try. He did ask for help.
Yeah, and the book ends with Adam and Alana in the flashback stuff, lying in bed talking about their daughter's first steps, and how they'll see her again someday in another world, afterlife presumably.
And this is where I'm questioning what he knows, because the whole time she's like, "Oh, maybe I'll just see her one more time. It's going to end," and he hasn't said anything throughout this entire scene.
Yeah, it's just her talking about or walking. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's just staring there, lying, just staring up at the top. And he just says, "We'll see her again. There's another world." And I wonder. Obviously, there's the obvious, it's there's life after death. It's some comfort in, but
yeah, that's how.
Given
obviously
the speculation of how we think maybe he knows more than she does.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously I said afterlife because that's how it reads in a vacuum, and that's how it sounds to her in the scene. I mean, it could literally be whatever deal he made for something to win this war, or whatever, involved giving her up to someone who took her to another planet, like literally another planet. It could be that literal, what he's saying here at the end.
It could.
Which, I mean, how is Alana going to feel when she finds out if this is remotely what happened, if this is remotely true? Like, Alana's reaction to this is going to be, given how, because she was presented early on, we were so convinced that she was like the one running the show effectively, and sort of
the conniving evil woman behind it all. Yeah.
And there's maybe some negative influence in the sense that she does kind of try and overly justify everything he's done a bit too much. So he's it's kind of luring him into that denial more. But at the same time, she is under the impression that a lot of her like animosity, a lot of her, like, I'm sure she hated the Pict before her daughter's death because we're already at war with them. I'm sure she had very strong feelings, but they could only have shot up dramatically after she believed they're responsible for her daughter's death. Everything she is saying, everything that drives her in the last several years is because of that moment, that incident. So I can't, like, I'm excited about seeing how it's handled, like seeing what this revelation is, having her read this letter, having her confront Adam. These scenes are, storytelling can sometimes be very passive, where I'm like, it's okay, yeah, I'm having fun with it, I'll see what they do next time. But when storytelling is really good, It's when there's in specific moments that I cannot wait to see how they tackle it.
And despite all of it, I know that no matter what we're predicting, we're not there. We haven't quite got it, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she does know. Maybe Terrific's wrong. Maybe she does know the truth. She didn't know when he wrote the book, but she does now. Like I don't know what she does and doesn't know, and I don't know what it is that she does or doesn't know either. Like there's so much potential still for this that it's wide open, and of course that means there's potential for it to be unsatisfying. That's always the case. But when the rest of the story is being delivered this well, you kind of just put your faith in that. No, this gaping void that we're kind of swirling around. It's not gonna disappoint us, whatever it is. I'm sure.
I don't think so, and I think it's because, and King has proven this with Mr. Miracle especially, but it's everything in this book. Like, yeah, all the war stuff is cool. Like seeing like the Justice League fight the Pict and all that has been a fun backdrop to what's going on, but that's not what the story's about. It never has been. So all this has to be is that Adam made a choice to do something, and as long as that choice has a repercussion in how Alana's going to see him, and adds more to his guilt or more to his denial or PTSD or whatever, all of that, as long as it does those things, it'll be satisfying. It doesn't matter what the exact thing is.
I agree. It's almost irrelevant. It's just about however they react to it is the important part of this story.
So, obviously the artists, I mean, we mentioned some of the moments, but the coloring, the contrast.
Every damn issue.
I think obviously a big thing here is the coloring on Shaner's stuff. Does Shaner do his own colors? I can't remember.
Yeah, they both do.
Yeah, they both do. But intentionally, the color palette of Shaner's stuff is completely changing as the story goes. It's almost getting closer to the color palette of the Garrett stuff.
It is, but I love the color palette of the Garrett stuff because even that's shifting throughout this issue. Like all the stuff with Adam is these pale blues and greens. Very muted. But then anytime it cuts to Terrific, it's these bright reds and oranges.
Mm-hmm.
It's so you feel the emotion coming from him just in the color, let alone what he's actually doing. I think there's one page where it is a Terrific panel at the top and bottom, and then like an Adam panel in the middle. And it's just this stark contrast between them just really shows off that these two men could not be more different right now.
And I think it's also important as well that as much as Alana says, the Justice League don't like you and you won't be on the team anymore, but other than that, this is not a big deal. I think it's important to know that he does go to both Batman and Superman directly and tries to build a bridge with both of them. So clearly, despite what she says, he does care. He does care that Batman and Superman are looking down on him, that they are judging him for what he did.
Yeah, that still matters to him.
Yeah, so that's super important. So yeah, unsurprisingly, it was an excellent issue. There's so much good. I almost want to reread like all the issues before, if not the final one, maybe before 11. Like it's just sort of be really kind of like have a solid footing of like remembering everything that's came before those last one or two issues. But we'll see if I have time for such a thing. But really, really good stuff, which keeps impressing. And it's one of these things like I can't believe how quickly I've stopped. Like I still hate Heroes in Crisis and what it did, but I forgave Tom King's involvement very quickly because the standard of book that he's typically putting out is so off the charts that despite any failings he's had, which is maybe some of the back half of his Batman run, obviously wasn't exactly all gold, and Heroes in Crisis. Right now he's putting out 3 prestige miniseries that are all firing on various cylinders for me.
I think so. Yeah, I'm obviously a lot more hit or miss with them, but I'm always open to try them because when it hits for me, like it really does hit. When he misses, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care too much. Heroes in Crisis being the one exception, because for the most part, okay, he's doing a book that's probably mostly out of continuity anyway, and fine, if I don't like it, that's fine, it's not for me. I just won't read it, not a big deal. Heroes in Crisis is obviously a bit of a different exception where that had impact on shit I care about. But like, when it lands, it's so good.
Yeah. So what are you rating Strange Adventures issue 9?
I'm just gonna go with a 9.
Yep, I'm also going to give it a straight 9. It's hard to really say anything else.